What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. I'm your host, Pat Dunne, and this is my review of Smackdown, which took place January 19th. Now, we had a hot crowd in Atlanta, Georgia. They were very live throughout the course of this show, the whole 2 hours. And honestly, there's nothing better than having a live crowd that is excited, ecstatic, aware of what's going on, and not just aware, but obviously in the moment. You love that because, especially if you're at the show, you want that. And certainly when you're at home watching, it's hard to really get hyped for something as we all saw during the Thunderdome era, right? During COVID, that year and a half when we are home. And even though matches were seemingly, if this was Dave Meltzer and it was a 5-star match, so to speak, it's hard to get excited for it when there's no fans in attendance or no fan reactions. It's similar to a show where there are fans, and it's even worse when there is no reaction, especially when it deserves one. We see it more times than we'd probably like to admit. So seeing this crowd excited and available for every moment that took place, whether it was a match, a backstage segment, you name it, people were involved, and that's what you like to see. There's nothing worse than being home and seeing a dead crowd, and you're like, well, how can I get hyped? They're there, and they're not even seemingly enjoying it. So this crowd, again, very excited from the very start of this show. Now the show opened with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso backstage welcoming Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman to the show. Roman then goes to say he's here to make everything right again. And Solo says, I'll fix it. I'll fix everything. So obviously we see and hear from the Bloodline throughout the course of this show. Here we have SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis, who welcomes everybody to SmackDown and says that now they will go ahead and do the contract signing for the Fatal 4-Way that will take place at the Royal Rumble. And so I found this to be a little odd. Typically, these contract signings, especially when it's a main title, a world championship, nonetheless, Roman Reigns, who's been champion for over 3 years, doing that at the start of the show. I wasn't opposed to it, but at the very same time, I was surprised that it wasn't saved for later in the night. But hey, I said, so be it. So all this introduces everybody one by one. He goes with the phenomenal AJ Styles, the megastar LA Knight, the Viper Randy Orton. And then, of course, he goes to announce the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, which I'll get to in a minute, who we did not see at that moment in time. Instead, we saw Paul Heyman. But I have to mention here, two men who have fought valiantly for quite some time to get to WWE later in their careers. Two of those men are in this Fatal 4-Way. That being, of course, first AJ Styles, who showed up in WWE at the 2016 Royal Rumble, I believe it was. And now here we have, since February of 2021, showing up in NXT. Again, he's approaching his 3-year anniversary with the company, LA Knight. You know, two guys that have made their name in TNA, in Impact, same company, different names, of course, during different eras. And here they are getting showcased the way they should in and on WWE television to a broader audience. So good for them. Very happy for them. And this is going to be a great match at the Royal Rumble, regardless who wins. Seeing these four men and returning Randy Orton, returning AJ Styles, who was out a few months storyline wise, and of course LA Knight here, Roman Reigns. This is going to be a great match at the Royal Rumble that I'm very much looking forward to. So anyway, Roman Reigns did not make his way out. The other three men were in the ring with SmackDown GM Nick Aldis. Heyman says that him and Reigns, look, we just got to the arena. Heyman says that they haven't had the opportunities to submit this contract to an attorney so he can review it and decide whether or not they want to sign this for the Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble. He says Roman Reigns probably will not sign this contract. Nick Aldis says, well, that's all right. That's absolutely fine. He said he already has 3 signatures and that he'll gladly make this a triple threat match for the vacant, undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Heyman then gets closer to the ring, gets right on the apron, and he goes on to insult SmackDown GM Nick Aldis in numerous ways. And Heyman says that it should be a one-on-one match at the Royal Rumble, not a Fatal 4-Way, giving him obviously just a 25% chance to retain his title. So LA Knight goes on to plead his case, saying that it should be a one-on-one match because his cousin interfered at Crown Jewel, where he believes he would have gotten the victory over Roman Reigns. Knight then calls Styles and Orton a couple of Johnny-come-latelys who decided to jump to the front of the line after taking time off. Now they get into a heated verbal exchange, that being AJ Styles and LA Knight. Randy Orton kind of sat back for this. Styles punched Knight, knocking him out of the ring. Brawl ensued. Security came out, WWE officials, you name it. And so I believe they were set for a match later in the night as the show went on. Now Orton tells Heyman, I see what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work. and that he's going to drop Solo in the middle of the ring later tonight. Then he's going to introduce Roman Reigns to the three most dangerous letters in sports entertainment, RKO. Now, Styles was backstage shortly after this and approached Nick Aldis and said, I want a match against LA Knight tonight. I want LA Knight tonight. And so Aldis said, okay, match was made official. And yes, so they did end up having a match later on in the night. Now, following this initial segment at the start of the show, we had a six-man tag team match that consisted of Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro of the LWO and Carlito with Zelina Vega going up against Legado del Fantasma, the new and improved Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar, Angel, and Humberto. I would not be opposed to seeing a leading lady in this group as well. I think that would be great. I'm not sure who at the moment, but I think they don't need it, but they certainly, I think it would benefit them greatly. This new and improved version, as Escobar says, this is familia, and certainly I expect big things for them going forward. Now, the way this match wrapped up was Escobar rolled up Carlito for the pin. Carlito lost sight of the legal man. Fun matchup. Again, all of these guys very talented, and I'm curious to see, what's in store for this new Legado del Fantasma. So that should be fun. Now, following this, we had Pretty Deadly going up against Tyler Bate and formerly known as Butch, right? It's been the better part of 2 years now since Pete Dunne was called up to the main roster. And the good news here, folks, is that Butch is no more. Pete Dunne is officially back. His theme music hit. The Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, British strong style, him and Tyler Bate. Again, after 2 long years with the Brawling Brutes, with Sheamus, with Ridge Holland. Obviously, Sheamus has been away from television for a while now. Not sure what's going to happen with him contract-wise and so on. Ridge Holland now, I don't want to completely say reinventing himself, but getting back to the basics, I'll say that on NXT, as we've seen the past month or so. And so now Pete Dunne aligning himself with Tyler Bate, the Bruiserweight. This is great. His demeanor has completely changed. Dare I say it's even more vicious than it originally was in years prior. And it feels like he just came up from NXT for the very first time. And in his mind, he did. He came up as Butch. It was a different character, although it was good with Ridge Holland and Sheamus over time. Initially, wasn't so good, at least in my opinion. But this new demeanor, this renewed confidence in himself that Triple H, we can thank for getting this name change back. We all know Vince gave Pete Dunne this name Butch. There's no question about that. So this means more than most would understand. So the way this match wrapped up was Pete Dunne hit the bitter end to Elton Prince for the 1-2-3 British strong style with the victory here. Excited to see these two in tag team action going forward, and certainly can't wait to see Pete Dunne get back to his old ways and his tenacious ways as a singles competitor. And that be that. I can't wait to really see him make a plunge and get an opportunity in 2024 at a mid-card title. At that U.S. championship, perhaps, or if he gets, if he ends up going over to Raw at some point, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him take that title off of Gunther. Really, we all know that would be fun. We've seen those two go back and forth on NXT UK, on NXT, and so we all have to remember, Gunther, what was it, 5 years ago or so, was the one who dethroned, when he was Walter, dethroned Pete Dunne of that NXT UK title in the first place. So next up here, we had Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. We had a video package where he called out the Final Testaments, Karrion Kross and company. And he says, when we find you, we're going to show you what real intimidation looks like, says Bobby Lashley. And so we'll hear from the Final Testament later on in this show. I'm really starting to like what we're seeing here between these two groups. And so following this, we have Kevin Owens, the KO show. Start off the 9 o'clock hour. Believe it or not, just like that, we're halfway through the show. And here we had Logan, no title defenses, Paul, making his way out, the United States champion. Made his way out. Paul says KO is the reason that he is in the WWE. Now, we got to remember that Owens stunned Logan Paul in the ring at WrestleMania 37 in Tampa, which personally, I don't know about you guys, but I forgot about that. I really did. So now after this, reminding the crowd and the audience, WWE Universe, that KO did, in fact, stun him 3 years ago at WrestleMania 37. The crowd chanted one more time. I couldn't agree more. So KO says, I've been doing this for 25 years. You're just one of many I stunned. KO says, Logan Paul, put in the work. And look, he basically exceeded his expectations. I don't think Kevin Owens is alone there. Not to discredit or say that Logan Paul was not capable. We all know he's very athletic, boxes, etc. But I think he surprised us all at how good he's been from the very beginning. You know, Logan Paul has done a fantastic job in WWE the last 2 or 3 years against pretty much any opponent. I think, with the exception of, and the irony, the only match I wasn't personally crazy about was where he won the United States Championship a few months ago. Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio. I was not crazy about that match. But when it was Logan versus The Miz, or Logan versus Roman, Logan versus Seth, what was it? Logan and The Miz versus Ray and Dominic a couple of years ago. All those matches, Logan Paul did his thing. So, you know, he's had a very good, it's short, but great career thus far in WWE. But getting back to this segment here, after KO seemingly gave Logan Paul his flowers, he goes on to say, "You're not a Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, or a Kevin Owens." Logan Paul says, "That's right, because I'm one of one. Often imitated, never duplicated. I'm a billionaire. I'm the Maverick, Logan Paul." He goes on to say a whole list of things, but that was pretty much what sums up what he was getting at. And KO says, "I don't know what any of that means." Logan Paul sucks chant breaks out. KO then says he's going to put an end to this after Royal Rumble. Paul says it will only take him a second to knock out KO at the Rumble. This is not the first time he said that. And KO says he'll get back up every time. Tells Paul he will not, in fact, knock him out. That's, you know, not in the cards. Not gonna happen. So KO tells Logan Paul that he will, in fact, take off the cast on his right arm right now, because I know this has been a concern for him. And Logan Paul even mentioned if KO does not take that cast off by the time they have their match at the Royal Rumble, that he will forfeit it, or they will cancel the match rather, and it won't take place. He will remain champion, and they will not fight. And so KO says, why wait till the Rumble? I'll take this cast off right now, and let's just do it. While this was happening, he took the cast off, was about to throw it outside the ring. Logan Paul then sucker punches KO, knocking him to the ground. They then get into a shoving match, and Paul knocks KO's injured hand into the ring post. KO, of course, screaming in agony, in total pain. And so that was pretty much that segment. I thought, you know, their back and forth exchange was very good. I did enjoy this KO show segment, and I'm really looking forward to this match. I hope it delivers. I believe that it will. KO, a veteran in the game. Logan Paul, he's done good in the majority of the stuff we've seen on WWE television. And so that match at the Royal Rumble should be a lot of fun. So now we're backstage with the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa says, "Last week it was on me. You know, you made me the tribal heir for a reason, and tonight I'm going to fix this." You know, he really saved Jimmy Uso, because Roman, as he's done numerous times in the past, Roman was about to really lay it on Jimmy Uso. But Solo stepped in and said, "Look, I take the fall for this one. I'm supposed to be the next tribal chief, the next head of the table after you. And so I have to take that responsibility for the group." So I respect that. Now, here we have a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match that featured, of course, Women's Tag Team Champions Kayden Carter and Katana Chance from Monday Night Raw, making their way to SmackDown, going up against Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn. Great to see Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn. We don't see them nearly enough on WWE television. Great as a tag team, even better as singles competitors, honestly. Can't wait to see both of them in singles action at some point in time, too. I feel like when the draft happens in the spring, that we will see these two split. As sad as it will be to see them split as a tag team, although I do enjoy them, and we all know that WWE women's division desperately needs legitimate tag teams. These two have been together for a tag team, as a tag team rather, for over a year. I want to see what they can do in singles action. Isla Dawn, I know, is good. I'm really, really interested in seeing what Alba Fyre can do in singles action, formerly known as Kaylee Ray, NXT UK, and so on. So that should be fun. This was a solid match. You know, Damage Control was ringside for commentary during this match, because, of course, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, have their eyes on the prize. They want those tag team titles back. Former tag champs, just 3 years ago or so. They want them back. And Katana Chance ends up getting the pin on Alba Fyre to retain their tag titles. Again, post-match, as I just mentioned, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi, get in the ring with the tag team titles. They're holding those titles of Katana and Kayden's, and then hand them to Katana and Kayden. And so, obviously, this is a prelude to what we'll eventually see. Maybe we'll see this match take place at WrestleMania. I'd be here for it. So this was their second or third title defense for Katana and Kayden. If anyone is to dethrone them, we certainly know this would probably, in all likelihood, be the Kabuki Warriors. And again, that would make them two-time tag team champions. So here we are backstage. We have the OC tell AJ that they have his back. Of course, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Mishin, they're all letting him know. AJ didn't seem to really care. He walked right past them. And so he continues his heel ways, his heel tendencies, teasing this split from the group, wants to be on his own. And I have no problem seeing AJ on his own. We know he does well, whether he's by himself or with a group or with a tag team partner. Uh, Personally, I like to see AJ on his own, to be honest with you. I just am concerned and worried for Mishin and the Good Brothers. Now, to be honest with you guys, Gallows, Anderson, Mishin, we barely saw the three of them while they were part of the OC with AJ Styles full time the past year and change. So, what's that going to mean when AJ is completely removed from that group, which is any day now, if not already? What's that going to mean for the Good Brothers and Mishin? We probably won't see them much at all. You know, maybe Mishin will see a little bit from time to time in a women's division matchup, whether it's singles or tag. We've seen her tagging with Selena Vega a lot lately, both house shows and even on television recently. So maybe we'll see a little bit more Mishin, but I mean, what's that really mean for Gallows and Anderson? We haven't seen much of them at all. They were used at the very tail end of 2022 when they were brought back on that October 10th episode of that season premiere of Raw, October 10th, 2022. Only reason I remember that, I was there in Brooklyn for it when they came out and attacked the Judgment Day. But honestly, shortly thereafter, the past year or so, we haven't seen much of them showcased at all. And if we did, it was in a losing capacity. So I really fear for the Good Brothers and Mishin if they're no longer with AJ, because again, AJ is going to thrive regardless. And the three of them, I don't know. As I mentioned earlier in the show, the Final Testament, they would respond to Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. And that's exactly what they did. Now, Karrion Kross, the leader of this group, had to say, next week, we'll see you face to face in the ring, and maybe then you'll see who the true Almighty really is. Again, this was Karrion Kross speaking on behalf of AOP, Paul Ellering, his wife, Scarlett. And so I'm very curious to see this interaction between the two. Really, Lashley and company, the Final Testament, this new faction that was put together 2 weeks ago. Very happy to see AOP return for the better part of what's it been, 3.5, 4 years since we last saw them on WWE television. Especially happy to see Paul Ellering back with them. He was the glue to them on NXT many years ago, right? 2016, 17, 18. And of course, they made their way to the main roster, and shortly thereafter, they got rid of Ellering. That was the beginning of the end for them, quite literally. Not to say AOP can't do it on their own. I'm not saying that at all, but Paul Ellering just gives them that direction, right? As he did with the Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors many moons ago. Obviously, argued as one of the best tag teams of all time. Certainly my favorite. So I cannot wait to see that. Now, following that, we had backstage segment here with Kathy Kelly and Carmelo Hayes. Now, they're referring to the match that took place last week with Austin Theory, where the two took a nasty spill from the top rope that ended abruptly due to a referee stoppage. It looked really nasty, namely Austin Theory. Carmelo, of course, took the brunt of that too. So Carmelo says, I didn't win, but I didn't lose. And as he was getting ready to go forth and say some more about the whole incident with Austin Theory and so on, then gets interrupted by Austin Theory, who is alongside Grayson Waller, who says, you nearly ended my career last week, and now you're getting rewarded with an interview in my city. So in short, Melo issued a rematch next week. Theory was reluctant and says that he's busy. However, Grayson Waller stepped in. He chimed in and said, we accept this match, accepts it on Austin Theory's behalf. And the match is all set. The match is set for this Friday on Smackdown. And so we'll see it there. After Melo left the interview, Theory tells Waller, you've got to stop doing that. He was obviously not pleased that Waller accepted this match. So we're going to get that rematch and hopefully a solid and safe finish between Austin Theory and Carmelo Hayes. I certainly got to go with Carmelo Hayes getting the win here. He's got some good momentum on SmackDown the past month. Obviously, unfortunately, he lost in that tournament matchup against Kevin Owens for the United States Championship opportunity. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens here. And hopefully, again, we get a good conclusion, which we unfortunately did not get recently between the two. So here we had AJ Styles versus LA Knight. Match was going pretty good. That was until Jimmy Uso made his way ringside. Now, this was followed by a Samoan spike to LA Knight from Solo Sikoa, who was in the Timekeeper's area. Shortly thereafter, another Samoan spike would follow, hitting AJ Styles this time in the center of the ring. Solo then gets on the mic and says, 2 down, 1 to go, calls out Randy Orton. Randy, of course, makes his way out. Now, these two go back and forth for quite a while. Solo was pretty much dominating Randy Orton from the beginning here. But that was until, Randy Orton slammed Sikoa onto the announce table. Uso then tried to interfere, ended up brawling with AJ Styles and then LA Knight once they got back to their feet. It distracted Orton for a little bit, but then Solo Sikoa was about to connect with his Samoan spike. That was until Randy Orton hit the RKO, putting a bow on it, and things just got out of control here. At this point in time, LA Knight knocked AJ Styles to the ground. Orton then hits Knight with an RKO. Then he hits AJ Styles with an RKO. Shortly thereafter, we see the head of the table, Roman Reigns, make his way in and sneakily hits Orton with a Superman punch. Nick Aldis then appears ringside with the Royal Rumble contract for that fatal four-way. Uh, of course, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton signed it earlier in the night. Roman Reigns takes the contract, signs it, closes it, then throws it in the direction of Aldis, however, in a disrespectful manner as to where it ends up landing on the floor. Roman then prepared to spear Randy Orton and ends up taking an RKO instead. So this was a very eventful conclusion to SmackDown. Solo didn't get his wish of, giving a Samoan spike to all three people, being, although he did get LA Knight and he did get AJ Styles, he was unable to get Randy Orton. However, Randy Orton was able to get as many RKOs. He dished out as many as possible, hitting Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, AJ Styles, and of course at the end of SmackDown, Roman Reigns. All four took an RKO from the Viper, the Legend Killer, the Apex Predator. Call him what you want. What is he? A 14-time WWE champion now. Would love to see him tie Cena and Flair, and potentially even get the record at 17 one day. It's been a few years since he's been world champion. But at the Royal Rumble, it's going to be a great match between these four. Again, regardless who wins, most of us would expect Roman Reigns to win. Is he really going to lose the title prior to WrestleMania 40? I doubt it. Will he even lose the title at WrestleMania 40? That's a debate for another day, folks. Whether it was up against the CM Punk or a Cody Rhodes or who most of us believe to be The Rock. So we'll see. But that was SmackDown pretty much start to finish. Good show. And again, Royal Rumble is shaping up to be pretty good. Gonna give my men's and women's Royal Rumble winner predictions in the very near future, as well as my predictions for the remainder of the matches on that card taking place the 27th. Is it Saturday? Saturday the 27th is the Royal Rumble. So that does it for me here, folks. Thank you as always for tuning in to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. I'm your host, Pat Dunne. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Turnbuckle Topics, and all platforms of social media. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, you name it, I'm there. So please be sure to follow. And if you want to, have a conversation, whether it's in the comments section, whether you want to, message me, inbox me, DM me, feel free. I love to talk wrestling, you know that. And so I'd be more than happy to give you my thoughts or my 2 cents on whatever the topic may be. Whether it's WWE, AEW, TNA, you name it. Those are the 3 promotions I watch most and most consistently. So I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. All right. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.